So good morning. Welcome today to the Franco-British Chamber. It's my great pleasure to welcome you. My name is Olivier Campenon. I'm the president of the Cross-Channel Institute, which is the think tank of the Chamber, and was actually organizing this event this morning talk, along with the British Council. So again, pleasure to welcome you. Pleasure to welcome all people who are online. And I'm not sure where the camera is today. I think it's probably here, right? Just a quick message for you who are distant. Of course, as usual, if you have any questions, please post them on the chat. I will make sure that we'll cover them at the end of this session. So the theme today is the surprise elections. I think we thought about talking about the Olympic Games, but that's over now, I'm afraid. So elections, and we thought about talking about UK elections, and now comes the French elections, an interesting new government. So I'm afraid, Sophie, I'm going to ask you questions on both sides of the channel. But seriously, the theme is really what's the impact of these elections on the Franco-British relationship. And if I may remind you that the Franco-British Chamber is really here to help the relationship between the two countries on an economic point of view. And all of our members are actually working on both sides of the channel. And we are here to project and help on how to make business and trade growing. And recently, the Cross-Channel Institute has actually published the barometer of the trade between the two countries. And I think it's relevant to say it because it's good news. For the first time ever, the trade between two countries in goods and services has hit the 100 billion bar. Actually, we are 105 billion pounds, which makes 120 billion euros. So quite a dynamic exchange between the two countries, and we'd like to see that going ahead. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And it's my great pleasure to welcome an expert, but also a friend with Sophie. I believe a number of you know her. And Sophie is professor of the British civilization at the University of Picardy. She's graduated of the Rue École Normale, and Sciences Po. And if you've met her here, you met her on TV, you met her on radio. She's very often interviewed clearly as an expert. And she also has published a number of books. One is on the Brexit and its aftermath, the Bloomsbury Publishing, and also two textbooks, one on the civilisation britannique en fiche, and the David Cameron, un conservateur du 21e siècle, et enfin l'Odyssée politique de Tony Blair. So we definitely with Sophie have the right person. So Sophie, if I may join you here, so that
Thank you so much for this introduction, and thank you so much for inviting me to this morning talk, which is of course quite timely, as Sir Keir Starmer is going to deliver his speech at a Labour Party conference this afternoon. Yesterday, we've had Rachel Reeves, the Iron Chancellor's speech, trying to restore confidence after the scandal of the freebies, restore hope, and to create an atmosphere of stability, economic stability, and assert all the priorities of the Labour government ahead of the budget on the 30th of October. So everybody is wondering what will be in this budget, how she can avoid raising taxes, but she has promised that she would not resort to austerity measures. She wants to put an end to the 14 years of austerity measures of the Conservative government. But how is she going to
that sounds like an impossible equation, right? And I really have the same on this side of the channel. But maybe before jumping into economy, I mean, you know him very well, but maybe not everybody here. Would you tell us a bit more on Keir Starmer? Where is he coming from? I mean, he's been somewhere during the Brexit. We saw him in the background what is it, because it's still, I mean, we have had a number of Prime Minister and clearly very different character. I mean, what's his character?
Well, Keir Starmer is very different from Tony Blair, of course, who was elected with a landslide majority in 1997 and implemented devolution and the Lord's reform.
Yes.
Keir Starmer has working class roots. His parents voted Labour. He went to grammar school, and then he went to the University of Leeds before studying law at St Edmund's Hall, Oxford, where he was a student at the same time as David Cameron, Jeremy Hunt, Michael Carden, and also Ed Balls and David, and he became a friend of David Miller. So when he was at university, Margaret Thatcher's England was taking shape. This gives us the background of Keir Starmer's political upbringing, as it were. So he began his legal career with minor criminal briefs, and his career as a prosecutor has helped him greatly to tackle the riots in August 2024, because he was the head of the Crown Prosecution Service in 2011 when the last riots broke out. And he was only elected the MP for Holborn and St Pancras in 2018, succeeding Frank Dodson, who was Tony Blair's health secretary. He was elected with 34% of the vote, and then he became a member of a shadow cabinet, Jeremy Corbyn's shadow cabinet. He was named shadow minister in Labour's Home Affairs team. And
Because I understand his relationship with Corbyn not being that.
well, it's strained, of course, now. And you have to bear in mind that Keir Starmer is a Europhile. And of course,
Yes.
whereas Jeremy Corbyn has always been a Eurosceptic. In 1975, when the first referendum was organised by Harold Wilson, Jeremy Corbyn voted to leave, and that accounts for its position in 2016. In 2016, actually, Jeremy Corbyn did not campaign for Remain. It could have helped Remain, but that's another fact. Anyway, so Jeremy Corbyn lost the general election in 2016, at the time when Boris Johnson won an 80-seat majority in the general election on the 12th of December, and he stepped down from the leadership of the Labour Party. And on the 4th of April 2020, during the COVID crisis, Keir Starmer became leader of the Labour Party. He started criticising the Conservative Party for being too slow on lockdown, too slow on PPE, too slow on lockdown exit. And he started preparing, for the next election. And actually, what is interesting is that on the 4th of July, 2024, the Labour Party was elected with 34% of the votes. That is to say, only 1% more than in 2001. But there was a fragmentation, of course, which accounts for the defeat of the Conservative Party. And the Liberal Democrats made a breakthrough and won 72 seats in the House of Commons. And with the first past the post system, in spite of getting only 34% vote, the Labour Party won 412 seats in the House of Commons. The Conservative Party won 121 seats, the Liberal Democrats 72 seats, and for the first time in British history, the UK won 14% vote and won 5 seats. And now Nigel Farage is an MP in the House of Commons, which changes the British political landscape a lot.
Still, but it puts Starmer in a strong position with
He's in a strong position, but I would say that hardly after 1 days in office, the honeymoon period is over because of this scandal over donations, the freebies, all the expensive clothes.
We thought that happened in France only, so.
And Lady Starmer have received from Lord Alley all the tickets to football matches.
He said he will accept them.
Yes.
Keep accepting them, so.
But okay, so that's politics. Now, if you go back into the economy, and you touched on it, I mean, clearly, there's a 22 billion hole, a big black hole, that they have to face. And I think he clearly said, he didn't talk about blood and tears, but he talked about painful budget.
Yes.
And you said it's an interesting situation again in both countries where we have prime ministers who have to manage the situation where they don't want to put it to present the name of austerity, but they have to present a very disciplined budget.
Yes.
How can they do that? I mean, what's the magic equation to because I think Reeves said yesterday that she will not increase tax on work. Here's what Barnier said. But still, somebody needs to pay.
Yes. Well, the commitment in the manifesto was not to increase income tax, not to increase local tax, but there is still leeway. She can increase capital gains tax. She can increase inheritance tax.
But that will impact the
Of course,
investments
this would have an
and
impact.
stock exchange and
Yes, and actually 9,000 millionaires have already said that if capital gains tax went up, they would leave the UK.
they might not come to France. I may advise them not to.
Yes, that's what everyone is saying, you know, the UK is still a low tax state.
It is.
Compared to Germany and France and Italy. I think that Rachel Reeves will try to stick as much as she can with the corporate tax to maintain the attractiveness of the United Kingdom. And also, there was a lot of hope after the results of the first round of the general elections in France, you know, with the political instability in France. The London Stock Exchange started attracting companies which would have been tempted to come to France. And of course, I think that London has benefited. And if you look at the pound, you know, the pound is strong. The pound has gone up. So it shows that the British economy is doing reasonably well in spite of a level of poverty which has increased. There are 14 million poor people in the UK, in spite of a level of unemployment which has gone up to 4.4%. But still, of course, it's nothing compared to the level of unemployment in France. When Rachel Reeves presents her first budget on the 30th of October, she will need to explain why taxes have to go up. I don't think that she can avoid, you know, raising capital gains tax, because how can she reform public services, especially the National Health Service and the education system? She has already taken a very unpopular measure, removing the winter fuel allowance, because this deprives, almost 11.4 million pensioners of this winter fuel allowance. And for many pensioners, you know, they will have to choose between heating and eating.
Yeah, and coming from the Labour Party, that's quite a surprise.
It is surprising and unpopular.
So it's clearly in a again difficult situations as in most of the European countries. So, but maybe thanks again for setting the scene of who he is. Obviously, we are here to talk about the Franco-British relationship. So we're interested to analyze what it is we can expect from him. You did talk about the relationship with you. He did say that he wanted to revamp the relationship. And maybe a first question: I mean, do you see him working as his predecessors on a bilateral basis, or do you think that he will stop or try to develop the relationship at the EU level?
Well, he has already went on meeting the 27 EU leaders over the summer. He started meeting Olaf Scholz in Germany
Before Macron.
before Macron, because France was in this situation of political instability. But he has met Macron 5 times.
Yes.
He has been to the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games. He came back to the closing ceremony. So there have been lots of opportunities for Sir Keir Starmer to meet with President Macron and to discuss the bilateral relation. And I think that, of course, he is committed to strengthening the relations between our 2 countries. Of course, in foreign relations, in defense cooperation, but also, of course, for in trade. And we have to bear in mind that France is the 4th trading partner of the United Kingdom. And there are many British companies in France and French companies working in the UK. I don't know how London could survive without French utilities. So basically, we have very close ties, and they're going to survive. I think that the major turning point was probably Rishi Sunak and President Macron's Franco-British summit in March 2023. But since then, it has gone from strength to strength.
And so you, first of all, you're absolutely right, and like to say, we have our friends from energy here, and clearly it's a key relationship between the 2 countries. Are you saying that today you get the feeling that Starmer's interest is in strengthening the relationship for the both benefits? And the reason I'm trying to set the ground is because then we're going to get into more details on the relationship, and you see where I'm coming to. I mean, there's examples like the ITA that comes as the demonstrations that this nice world of developing the relationships also are being hit by some initiatives that may actually go against it. So I'm really wondering if Starmer is in a position to actually say, yeah, we want to help and push the companies to work and trade between the 2 countries, and we're actually going to facilitate that relationship.
Well, he wants to facilitate the relationship because he wants to do away with border checks. Because actually, Brexit has damaged the British economy. It has lowered investment by 16%. It has lowered economic growth by about 5% of GDP. And the reason why, Britain is facing this this cost of living crisis is also because of Brexit. And so farmers are suffering with the border checks. And I think that is a major priority of Keir Starmer, to remove border checks, because this is going to make trade easier for farmers, but also for industries. We have seen that Britain is still exporting numerous financial services to France. On the other hand, France is exporting a lot of
Goods.
tourism and hospitality to the UK, and many British people spend their holidays in France. There were 14 million nights spent in France. So it tells a lot about the strength of but France is exporting more goods to and France has greatly benefited from 2023.
Very much so. I can only again refer, and if you're interested, connect to the website of the chamber, and you have the barometer of the relationship with countries. Where you have, as Sophie says, the balance of trade, goods and services, and the different sectors. And indeed, the balance today is highly beneficial to France. I'm sorry to be a bit pushy, but do you expect this all of this customs control to ease in the near term, or do you still believe, because as you said, Starmer wants to go fast. So should we expect that to evolve shortly, or is that going to take some time?
I think it's good. It's probably going to evolve shortly because actually David Lammy is going to attend the EU Council of Foreign Ministers next month. We have to bear in mind that, you know, he was very close to Séjourné, and I think that things are going to carry on with Jean-Noël Barrot. So he was European Minister. I think he's going to promote tighter relations. It's in the interest of France and Britain to do away with border checks. There is no point. I mean, what worries the EU is probably this cherry picking of the United Kingdom. And it will be interesting to see how of course, Prime Minister Barnier deals with this. We have to bear in mind that he was the Brexit negotiator. He's worked very intensely with Keir Starmer and of course, Mr. Boris Johnson. But he knows Keir Starmer well. And this will probably make it easier to ease the border checks. But on the side of the mobility, of course, we have very bad news. You know, I mean, there's a visa for young people aged 18 to 30 who will have to have a visa to study for 2 years or work for 2 years or be self-employed, and they'll have to pay £298 for the application fee, and then they'll have to pay £776 for the health system, and they'll have to show that they have £2,500 in savings. But it's also good for the UK because to attract young people who have no dependents. You know, that's
I mean, I believe that's the objective, but it's in a way, you know, it's difficult to read this as it in a way it stops the you know the youth dream of going to the UK and studying the UK.
Well, so what is rather surprising is that when Olaf Scholz offered Sir Keir Starmer to renegotiate the Erasmus agreement, Keir Starmer was not that interested. So I mean that's something I you know wonder about, and it's a pity for both EU countries and for Britain as well.
It's indeed difficult to read.
When you see that 78% of Labour voters would like to rejoin the EU. So of course, that's another point, you know. So Keir Starmer wants to restore close ties with the EU, but he has ruled out joining the customs union and joining the single market so far. Can he skirt out this forever? Is he going to change, you know, during his term in office?
Because I'm sorry to interrupt, but I don't know about you, but it resonates some of the discussions we had on and on and on when the time of the Brexit discussions, and it be single market, should it be custom union, should it be something like different, should be like we do with Switzerland, with Norway, exactly. So are we going to reopen this forever?
so far, I think it's the border check. But on mobility, this electronic travel authorization, which will be introduced on the 2nd of April 2025.
£10.
Yes, is not going to make it easier to travel to the UK. Also, you may be able to come to the UK without a visa if you want to do academic research or work or invited to a special event by a UK-based institution. You won't need a visa. But if you want to stay over 6 months, things will be different.
That's going to make it quite a challenge. So we've talked about this relationship, and again we hear your optimism, which we like on the future. You might know that there's a forum that's been organized, which called UK France Business Forum, and with the objective to actually propose to the French and British government some ideas and some proposals. And the 3 themes that have been retained are around mobility, around technology, and around the clean growth, which obviously are themes that are very important for all of the companies working in between. We talked a bit about mobility, data, and customs rules. First of all, do you think that beyond these 3 themes, there might be another theme that pop up because of this current political environment, or do you think that we're still looking at the right focus?
Well, artificial intelligence is probably going to be one of the major topics, but paradoxically, the Labour government has reduced the investment in artificial intelligence. It has announced it will cut its support to artificial intelligence and technology by £1.3 billion. So, I mean, clearly, yes, it is rather surprising, because Rishi Sunak was really committed to artificial intelligence in forum in 2003, attracting all the tech giants.
We have in France a new secrétaire d'État to the artificial intelligence.
So the decision has raised questions about Labour's commitment to boosting Britain's tech economy. Today, and also there are doubts as far as computing is concerned. And even, pharma giant AstraZeneca is wondering whether they will open factories in France. So because of this lack of support of the UK government. Just as in the space race, Britain risks falling behind, especially in computing, and Britain is only ranked 12th in computing, behind Saudi Arabia. And the University of Edinburgh is asking for subsidies from the Labour government to have a mega computer, and so far they have not succeeded in getting funds from the Labour government because of its commitment to fiscal discipline, and also probably the commitment to invest in national health service, education. So it's difficult. Money is tight. Money is tight, and the Labour government has promised not to return to austerity measures, but not to increase taxes too much. So
it's going to be difficult. Let me just say that they are you might be aware that in February we're going to have the AI Innovation Days in Paris. So that'd be a good opportunity for, again, exchanging between countries on what's going on. And we actually here had a very nice event some time ago on cybersecurity, and we exchanged around cybersecurity and the cooperations that exist between two countries. Again, I can only encourage you to connect to our website, and you have a very interesting white paper explaining what's happening in cybersecurity. So these are clearly for the companies and all of our members. These are very important topics. The third is clean growth, and again, you know, I'm personally very involved in that topic. I happen, when I'm not at the chamber, happen to lead on the company who's actually developing knowledge and publishing. And we have a lot of investments in ESG, you know, both environment, social and governance rules. And it is something that where we're battling to make sure that it is being perceived not only as a cost, but also an investment on the new way of managing the business, and therefore developing a whole strategy for the good of the planet, but also for the good of the business. Do you see this? Because of what we just said, because of the risk of limited funds available, do you see that as a risk for the UK to slow down on any investments in clean growth?
So far, the government has not mentioned slowing down investment in clean growth. I think that they will. I think Keir Starmer is keen on clean growth. So he may, you know, carry on his investment. But of course, it's difficult to know what is going to happen so far. And I think we still have to wait. But he, you know, he is full of ambitions to restore growth and stability. Whether he can achieve this, the question.
Yeah, it's going to be all depends on the budget.
Yes. And also on the economic context, because actually, you know, in 2022, nobody had expected that, you know, the war in Ukraine would break out. Of course, this has led to this energy crisis, this cost of living crisis, after Brexit and the COVID crisis. So there was a concatenation of crises.
You actually touched on that crisis and on the situation in Ukraine, and obviously it's also the situation in Gaza. We've always watched the very strong relationship between the two countries since the Lancaster's signatures. Do you see that being reinforced and continued
Yes.
into the two governments?
Yes, definitely. The Starmer government is committed to a very, very close cooperation on foreign policy and security. Even though, of course, stepping out of the European Union has had, of course, damaging impacts for the UK, because the UK is a member of Europol, it was a member of Eurojust, and now, I mean, and it was a member of Galileo, and it doesn't have the same access to those meetings. But there are close relations in defense, of course, and we've seen that at the time of the Olympic Games. I mean, the United Kingdom supported France and came with police force to make sure that the security would go on well.
Yeah. No, the corporations have been impressive. One last questions, and we'll open up to the room here if you have any questions. Let's take let's come back here to France with the new government. How? I mean, you said it. Obviously, we have a prime minister here in France, Michel Barnier, was been heavily involved in discussions with the British environment, and therefore definitely has an opening to dialogue. From what you've seen from this new government here in France, do you see that as a positive start to actually help relationships at all levels? You talked about Lamy with Séjourné, now Séjourné moving to obviously moving to Brussels and Barreau arriving. I believe they know each other as well. You know, what's your lecture of this of this government in France and how it would actually help again strengthening relationships?
I think that this will probably improve relations. Keir Starmer is very open to dialogue with France. I think he gets on with President well. On a different level from Rishi Sunak, they're also not well, for different reasons. And also, you know, closer relations with France and with the EU are going to serve Britain's major priority, which is economic growth. I mean, Britain cannot improve economic growth without getting closer to the EU and to France and joining them. Because they're major trading partners apart from the United States. So, as I said, so Keir Starmer has spent the summer meeting EU leaders. He wants fewer checks on farm products. He wants more cooperation in foreign policy and defense. And so we can wonder whether ultimately he will go back to single market. This is what I wonder. Yeah. Maybe because you know more and more British voters and Labour voters consider Brexit as a mistake. Yeah. And the situation has changed in 5 years' time. Remember, in 2019, the reason why the Conservative government wanted an 18-seat majority is because Boris Johnson was promising to get Brexit done. And Jeremy Corbyn was committed to 2 referenda, one on the EU and one on Scottish independence. And the British voters, especially in the Red Wall constituencies, did not want to have 2 referenda. They wanted to get Brexit done. Now they have noticed that Brexit was a mistake, probably one of the greatest mistakes Western countries ever made, and they want to go back to the EU to a certain extent. And you notice it in the polls. There are more and more British voters who would even like to have a referendum on EU membership. This is not going to happen during Starmer's term in office, because he would consider this as too risky. But maybe he will consider, you know, joining the customs union or the single market. I don't know.
That would be a first step.
Yes.
That's words of hope. Thank you.
Yes.
Let me open up.